This Jocks 94.5 podcast is brought to you by Millennium Satellite and Video. Log on to msbnow.com. TV excellence everywhere. That's Millennium. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning starts now.
All right, welcome in. McElroy Cubelic in the morning. Tuesday, August 19th, right here on Jocks 94.5 as we begin the show discussing grills. No Paul Wall to bring us in, but that was the topic of conversation for you in your house last night?
It was. Last night watching Commanders. By the way, I don't know. We're at a phase right now where every single player that comes on TV, Vince is like, do you know him? I'm like, yes. Have you met him? Yes.
Easy.
You ever get that?
Easy with the know him. No, I haven't bragged to my kids about.
I don't brag about him, but he asked the question because last night, Josh Johnson was in there for the Commanders. I played with Josh Johnson in Cincinnati. So I was like, Daddy's former teammate. He's playing quarterback still. He's 39 going on 40 and is on a 20-second different stop.
Really quick. Over-under teams, honestly,
14.
At every level.
14. No, if you include every level?
After college, we'll say after college. 14?
14 in the NFL. I'm going to say 16 overall because you had one in the AAF and one in the XFL.
Keep going. I'll count them.
Anyways, so I'm like, all right, that's Daddy's former teammate. And Vince was like, so you know him? I'm like, yes, I know him. And that started the entire conversation. Do you know him? Do you know him? Do you know him? Also, a guy in my wedding is also on the Commanders. So it just happened to be one of those nights where he was all obsessed with the fact that his dad knew two players on the red team. And was really excited about it. Oh, he played at Alabama? Yes. Oh, he plays do you know him? You played with him in the Senior Bowl? Yes. Von Miller. That's Von Miller. He plays for the Commanders now. Yes. So it was kind of a weird night last night, but yeah, that was a big part of the questions. However, the most interesting question last night was, what's that in Jaden Daniels' mouth? Why are his teeth diamond? Well, that's called a grill, buddy. What? Can kids get those?
Yeah, they can.
They can. I mean, yeah. It's like, do they cost a lot of money? Yeah.
Just take a trip to Houston, Texas.
How do you get them? You just go to the dentist, and he takes your teeth out and puts in diamond teeth. I'm like, no, doesn't work like that. It's like a mouthpiece. He goes, can I have a diamond mouthpiece? I'm like, well, it's not really a mouthpiece. It was a series of 21 questions about grills last night. And concluded with, buddy, there's a lot of things you can have right now. You ask Santa for something, that's fine. Like you can ask for all this stuff. Getting a grill at 6, probably not going to happen.
Probably not going to happen. Next trip to the dentist is going to be great, especially if you're not there, because there's going to be nobody.
I want to know at the pediatric dentistry office if they have like a grill manufacturer.
It can't just be everyone, too, right? Like, it's got to be. I mean, not every dentist has the ability to do that.
No, I think that's like a specialty dentist.
Wasn't Paul Wall's deal not like a kiosk in the mall?
Don't they have to like take a mold and then you obviously cast the mold?
I would imagine you have to do that. Yeah, but I don't think you have to be a dentist to do that. I made mouthpieces. Put it in the boiling water.
Oh,
I did that.
You should start a grill shop.
Don't need it. I have 25 stops now.
No, 22 stops in the NFL.
Okay. We also have the Sacramento Mountain Lions. Hadn't seen the tape. We have the San Diego Fleet, the Los Angeles Wildcats, all in there as well. And then technically Commanders and Redskins.
Oh, that's a good
count
point.
That as 2 also. So, but he has been with multiple franchises multiple times. That's a lot of work, man.
Yes.
2008, signed with Tampa Bay. It's 2025 and he's with the Commanders.
Yeah.
You think he's got a hard time moving?
I don't think so.
I bet that dude lives out of like one suitcase. Okay. On to the next one. Tell me where to go. I'll be there. What time does camp start? Good. Cool. You need an out route? Here it is.
There you go.
I just remember covering him with the Fleet, or did we have them? We had him with the Wildcats.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I wasn't on your crew that year. I was on your crew the next year. Norm Chow was the OC.
I feel like, was that 2020?
19. Or no.
2020.
Yeah, 2020 Wildcats.
Yeah.
And this is when we were just starting to listen to a lot of different people, and we learned pretty quickly that this back and forth between Norm Chow and Josh Johnson was about the only thing we were going to need for that game. Because Norm Chow would send the call in, and Norm's audio would stay on. He's like, this kid's got no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
And then we'd leave Josh Johnson's audio on, and he'd get the play call, and he's like, man, we ain't running that expletive. Hey, hit this route. Go here. Oh, give me this protection. And he would just literally go up and run whatever he felt like. Like, the back and forth of what they did not hear each other saying was incredible.
Yeah.
Because Norm would call the play, and he's like, this guy, there's no way we get this right. Because, Norm's like the nicest guy on earth. And then Josh would get in and be like, that ain't going to work. Let's do this. Like, literally just running his own playbook. Just, we're going to that. It was incredible back and forth. But you talk about a journeyman. He's the picture in the dictionary of journeyman.
He was kind of like the quarterback in 2008 when he was drafted. He was a little bit like ahead of the curve from a mobile athleticism standpoint. He's very mobile, very athletic, can really run. Not a great thrower. Has enough arm, but not super accurate. So kind of like fast forwarding back, like that was right when the backup quarterback started to need to become super mobile. And that's kind of where it's gone from now. It's kind of crazy what's happened for him. So good for him.
All right. Usually joining us on Mondays, going to join us today with ESPN, the SEC Network, and can hear him weekly right here thanks to Craneworks. It's Paul Finebaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, Craneworks, Reynolds, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Finebaum on Mac and Cube in the Morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Finebaum.
Paul, this is going to be a tough one for you because I know historically you're known for having to bite your tongue when it comes to discussing the Big Ten. Tony Petitti's proposed 24 to 28 team playoff. What are your thoughts when you heard this doozy?
I had to get some help to get off the ground after I fell down laughing hysterically and uproariously. I've always considered Tony Petitti to be a very serious, intelligent, New World commissioner, but he has completely jumped the shark in recent months, and I feel badly for the Big Ten getting stuck with him right now because he is leading this conference or trying to lead this conference somewhere it really doesn't need to go or deserve to go, and the real problem with the 26 team playoff is how do you find enough schools from anywhere but the SEC to fill it up? I mean, the Big Ten doesn't have enough. Certainly, the ACC and the Big 12 don't, and I just think it's an unserious, completely absurd proposal. And if you're going to make something like that, defend it. And that's another thing that bugs me about Tony Petitti. He's been involved with Greg Sankey with the CFP. We never hear from him. He finally shows up on an in-house podcast a couple of weeks ago before he goes to media days. And, it's the one thing about Greg Sankey. He's always out there. He's always accessible. He's transparent. And I think it's one reason why, in spite of 2 years of not having won the national championship, the SEC is still the most talked about and best conference in America.
It's kind of amazing that a league that is remarkably top heavy and has very few big players in the middle ground is all of a sudden trying to champion a possible proposal that has 7 automatic qualifiers. How does that make any sense, Paul? Like, where does this automatic qualifier decision come from?
Well, I mean, listen, it seems TV directed, and I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we all work for television networks, but I think you have to be realistic when you're involved in these type of conversations. And I think it's fair to say that Championship Saturday is in danger if the playoff gets expanded. I mean, that's not a secret, but it just is, this thing just makes no sense. And I mean, we can sit here and beat a dead horse about what you just said, Greg, but I mean, I think but they don't have enough decent teams. And I think a lot of people just looked at Indiana last year, and they had a really great season. But is that sustainable? And unless you have what the SEC had, it's not. And I know that sounds like, okay, we're just getting the script and reading it. We're not. The SEC was made fun of last year because they only had 3 schools in the CFP, but nobody mentions the 3 that were at the cut line and in the conversation. And then if you want to bloat the whole thing up like Petitti is proposing, then that opens the door for a bunch of 8-4 teams as well.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline with us thanks to Craneworks Weekly. You just brought up, Paul, kind of where Championship Saturday is going. It was a topic of conversation at Media Days. It has been the last couple of years. Kirby Smart's been very vocal, essentially saying, why are we here? Now that you've had a little bit of time to sit back on that being a real part of the conversation in Atlanta this year, where are we going with Championship Saturday, in your opinion?
I think we're moving away from it, and that's fine. I mean, it was different last year, and I'm not gonna get in the way of the parade. I mean, everybody loves that weekend and what it represents, but we all knew what was going on last year. It was a great exhibition. It went to overtime. It was fantastic, and like in the NFL, Georgia and Texas were playing for seeds, and sometimes that really matters a lot. It can often determine the champion or the Super Bowl, depending on where you begin the process. But I think it has a few more years, but no, it doesn't have a long shelf life. We're not going to be doing that 10 years from now.
What I'm trying to figure out, Paul, is why do we feel the need to expand at all? The more I think about it, the more I think an expansion to 16 is really unnecessary. And you can continue to prioritize the regular season, or you can expand, and now all of a sudden 3-loss teams are being rewarded like they would have been last year with Miami, who I know only had 2 losses, but Miami would have 2, but Bama, South Carolina, Ole Miss all had 3, all would have been in if we had 16, thus allowing teams to win just 75% of their regular season games into the postseason. Why do we want to expand to 16 to begin with? Why don't we just leave it at 12?
Well, I agree, and Greg, you were there every step of the way last year, and by the end, it felt exhausting, and that's primarily because we had never done it before. But I mean, there were times when going from week 2 to 3, you're like going, is this ever going to end? And that's not how it should feel. And by the way, that's not how the NFL feels. But the NFL has been doing this a lot longer. I think we ought to stay where we are until we can figure out the next move. And that's the problem right now. While some leagues are being patient, Petitti just seems like he's in a big hurry to get to the, if you're on the food line, he just wants to go right to the T-bone steak and skip the salad. And I think that comes from his background. I mean, he's been in. Listen, let's not forget, he's a Harvard-educated attorney who spent time on Wall Street. He spent time at television networks, and he spent time at the MLB. He doesn't understand the nuances of college football and college basketball and things like that. And I think when you just parachute in from Madison Avenue or Wall Street, you are not going to be prepared for how the game is really played, where you have other commissioners, Sankey, Jim Phillips, to make the ACC and the SEC, who have been in intercollegiate athletics their entire life. They understand how it works.
Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Thanks to Craneworks. I want to go a little bit of a different direction with you because we like getting your opinions on head coaches and bigger picture topics here. Away from the SEC, away from the Big Ten. Greg and I have been pretty high in Clemson this entire offseason. A lot of folks, it's taken them a little while to sort of get on board. I'm hearing more people now when discussing Clemson come completely full circle saying, well, Dabo's been there before. He's won a title, so that's a massive advantage for Clemson heading in, when a lot of these same folks the last few years have essentially been pointing fingers at him laughing because he can't figure out college football. Is it a real advantage what Dabo has done in his past heading into this season based on where we are or maybe even what he has?
Yeah, I mean, for a relatively young guy, Dabo looks very old school and very smart right now. and I've been critical as well. So most of us are in the camp of having tentatively written him off, but he has his best team probably since 2019 and or 2018, one of those years when Trevor Lawrence was roaming the sidelines, both of them to be exact. And quite frankly, I think they're among the 2 or 3 most likely national championship contenders. They have it all. They're going to, because of that first game will be magnified even more for them than for LSU. I think there's more pressure on LSU just in terms of the first game jinx. But Clemson won't see many more opponents like that, and I think that's why if should they win that game, they and the winner of Texas and Ohio State are really in the best position in terms of what we're thinking. But I admire Dabo in terms of what he's done. I mean, he went from a couple of years ago to being about as cold a stock as you could find to now. He looks like one of these, internet bubble stocks of 25 years ago. I mean, he has really done a remarkable job, and I think remember, this was a guy that 2 years ago didn't get a phone call from Alabama, his alma mater.
Paul, help me out for 1 second with Dabo. Kind of piggybacking off of week 1 outcomes, because we have the LSU, we have the Clemson. That game is significant. We also know there's 2 other games involving top 10 teams, Notre Dame, Miami, and then you also have Texas and Ohio State. In the event in which one of those teams, I just gave you 6 teams, gets blown out, doesn't matter which one, is there a situation where if one of those teams loses convincingly, a la LSU 2 years ago to Florida State, a la Michigan to Texas last year, where it gets sideways, it's not super competitive, where there's a significant fallout? Who do you think of all the coaches participating in those games has the most on the line?
Brian Kelly. And even though we all know what he has after that, I mean, he's the coach, I think, in this first weekend that's probably the most vulnerable because of everything that has already been said, and also his schedule. Nobody else has remaining games like Brian Kelly does, especially coming back in 2 or 3 weeks later against Florida. So I mean, you start thinking if you get blown out there and you lose another game, you're down to your last swing of the bat, perhaps. With all kinds of schools coming up, like Texas A&M and especially Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Everyone else has a path back, even Clemson. I mean, they have. I think they're at Louisville. They've got 1 or 2 other games, South Carolina, but Ohio State essentially has Penn State left, and then a possibility of a Big Ten championship game. I think Brian Kelly would clearly be the topic of conversation Monday morning after that one on this program.
Where's Brian Kelly with LSU right now, Paul? Because you probably heard the comments from Marcus Spears a couple weeks ago. We played him on this show, essentially saying this crowd is ready to turn on him. I know it hasn't necessarily been the highest of success, but he's done some really good things. I don't know what the realistic expectation is to just be undefeated every year maybe, but is he on some sort of perennial hot seat either with the fans or the administration right now?
It's kind of a split decision there, and I was with Marcus when he said that a week or 2 ago. And what Marcus was reacting to was just the amount of how fans will react. We understand that, but I don't believe the administration there is going to overreact. Scott Woodward is heavily vested in that system. You have a new president who's a big fan of all the athletic teams, and I just don't think there's a heavy appetite down there because I don't think there have been the kind of missteps and misstatements and miscalculations as we've seen elsewhere. Now, the problem is if this season is, I mean, you can't ever answer a question in August about a season that turns into a disaster. I mean, I've seen Alabama coaches start the season ranked number 3 in the country and only win 3 games. And of course they were fired. But I think Brian Kelly, as long as this season seems successful, is going to be back next year.
Paul, always appreciate the time. Thanks for making up your visit from yesterday. Look forward to catching up next week.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
There you go. Paul Finebaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. He's with us every week thanks to Craneworks, making up a couple of Mondays on Tuesdays, but he'll be with us weekly as we head into college football season. We'll react to a little bit of what Paul had to say there and some of the directions that he was going. Here's what we've got for you today. Rick Neuheisel, he's had some interesting comments for Jackson Arnold, Auburn quarterback. Hugh Freeze had some interesting comments about Auburn quarterbacks yesterday. Andy Burcham makes his first weekly visit of the season today at 8 a.m. And UNLV head coach Dan Mullen joins us at 8:30. We asked about the quarterback competition. We asked about some of the veterans on the team as we went through the roster yesterday. So why not get the head coach on to tell us about it? All that and more coming up next on Jocks. Before we do that, don't forget about Train. Boy, it was warm yesterday walking around. The heat and humidity is back. We had a nice week that it was calm. Don't let it affect your family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Train cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're the efficient cooling partner here at Jocks. Find a comfort specialist near you at Train.com. It's hard to stop a Train. We'll hear from Hugh Freeze. Talk a little Jackson Arnold next right here on Jocks.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, and 3-Man Front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Always appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to Rick Neuheisel about Jackson Arnold here in a few moments. Talk some Auburn football. You'll hear from Hugh Freeze in a little bit as well. You can always listen online, jocksfm.com, apps in your app store. Go download that today. It can take you to the YouTube page. You can watch us live on YouTube every morning. Also direct you to all the podcasts if you miss any interviews there or full segments or full hours. Also, you go get the app and you can just listen live right there. You can tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill. A lot of different ways to listen now statewide on your radios as well.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champion of GMC dealers. You can go and get a GMC Sierra 1500 SLT, get $14,000 off the sticker price. No one else can beat that price. You can go and get a Buick Encore GX, which is a nice, economical, sporty SUV. Highly recommend it. You can get it under $25,000 by going and seeing Bill Smith. It's unbelievable. The deals that you'll find are across the board unbeatable. No one else can touch them. That's why 75% of their business repeat customers. That's why they've won GMC Dealer of the Year a remarkable 8 times overall, including the last 5 years as Dynasty Brewing right out there in Coleman. Take a short drive up to Coleman. I'm glad you did. You can also shop online, have delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
Hugh Freeze, first off, just on their scrimmage assessment from Friday. Didn't get to this yesterday, so his thoughts on how the scrimmage went.
We're affecting the quarterback, at least in against us. We are, but we got to cage him once he's out of there, or that can create explosive plays. I think both Jackson, Deuce, and Ashton, all three, are really good at keeping their eyes up when those things happen, and created some explosive plays that really, you would hope are not explosive plays. So we had a period on that today where it was just a team pass, and hadn't got to watch it yet. But we were this is a weird kind of week because, we're simulating next week, which today's a Tuesday, and we have class at 11 o'clock on Monday, so it was tight. And so I hadn't had a chance to watch the film. But I thought defensively in the scrimmage, they did really well. Tackled well again, guarded well, just gave up a few too many explosive plays, and offensively, good thing, 0 turnovers, which was nice. We had some really solid, good, dirty runs that keep us ahead of the chains. Through the RPO game well, but the drop back game still needs some improving for sure. But definitely thought we took a step forward in those areas.
Anything stand out to you there of Hugh Freeze referencing the scrimmage over the weekend, GMAC?
Well, anytime you hear the term dirty runs, it means guys that are running through contact, guys that are getting some extra yardage after contact. I think that's always a really good. Anytime I hear the term dirty run, it means that they're practicing the way they should be practicing at this point of the season.
Sounds good.
I know that those are runs that are hard to come by, you're earning it, you're running through contact. That to me, when you get a bunch of those, that's a good spot to be in, especially with backs that are for the most part they're not bruisers by any stretch of the imagination. So it's kind of nice to hear that. And that's not including the quarterback. He's going to be part of the run game as well.
Do you feel good or concerned about him saying that the quarterback breakdown runs were so effective? You want your guys to be able to do that. You obviously don't want to have to lean on that. Defensively, I do think that you can make adjustments to that. I mean, maybe they were aggressive. Maybe there were a lot of stunts that kind of got out of their rush lanes, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And quarterbacks obviously not being full contact always going to make that a little bit different too. So,
right.
But does it concern you at all from the offensive standpoint of not getting the ball out, leaving the pocket, creating those runs?
Potentially, but I'd rather not get the ball out and try to create with your legs than throw a pick.
Actually pick up yards.
Yeah. I mean, at least you give yourself a chance. And last year's turnovers that were the killer, not an inability to release the football. So I think I can live with how I think they're going to defend. I can live with a couple of possible sacks. I can live with a couple possible off-schedule plays. I just can't live with turnovers.
Rick Neuheisel's worked with a lot of quarterbacks in his day. He's had some interesting things recently to say about Jackson Arnold taking over at Auburn, what he might be able to be this fall. We'll discuss it all with the former college head coach right after this on Jocks.
The capital of the sports talk nation. This is Jocks 94.5 and JocksFM.com. Birmingham.
Welcome back in. McElroy Cubelic in the morning, 7:31, Tuesday, August 19th, right here on Jocks 94.5. Going to go to the Higginbotham hotline. Welcome in Rick Neuheisel, former college head coach, and now can hear him weekdays on Sirius XM. Coach, I heard some of the things you were saying about Jackson Arnold last week, and I wanted to have you on our show just to talk about it. Let's go to this question first. We have debated this. We've kicked this back and forth the entire offseason. When I watched Jackson Arnold last year, he had a problem letting go of the football. That's not something that we say about a lot of quarterbacks, but he just couldn't pull the trigger. How do you rewire that as a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, somebody who's got all the ability, but mentally just couldn't let it go? And now you bring him into your system and you want to try to take the bad out and put the good back in. How is that done?
I think the way to do that, and good morning, it's good to be with you, Cole. I think the way to do that is to basically create the feet as a metronome. The feet tell you when to let go of the ball. And so the rhythm, and that's more difficult from the gun than it used to be from under center, but it's still doable. And I think Greg can certainly tell you when you hit that third step on timing throws, whether it's off the plant or requires a hitch, you have to be able to let the ball go based on what your eyes have told you about the defense, and you put the corresponding pass route against that particular look. But your feet tell you the ball has got to be delivered right now. Caleb Williams, the first pick in the draft for the Bears a couple years ago, in the preseason game, I think they beat Buffalo 38-0. All of a sudden looked like he was throwing with his feet. I mean, his footwork was perfect. The ball was coming out on time. Now, it's a preseason game and probably some pretty vanilla looks from Buffalo. You're not working on your disguise in preseason. But the bottom line is Caleb was using his feet, and we all go back to Caleb Williams as a college player and how much he used to love to extend plays. And Jackson Arnold was a little bit like that in that Oklahoma offense. And you can say it's because the offensive line wasn't great. They had a lot of injuries. You can say it was because they lost a lot of receivers, so he was not real comfortable with who was playing on the outside for him. But at the end of the day, the ball has to come out when your feet hit the mark. It's like dancing. 1, 2, 3, hit. 1, 2, 3, hit. 1, 2, 3, hit. And I think that's what Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold are working on. And I can't remember a coach needing a player to play well and a player needing a quarterback coach and coach to believe in him more than these two. These guys are going to go either to great things or down with the ship together.
Coach, we debated on the show last week, is Jackson Arnold the most important player in college football? And it's like what you just said, because it feels like there's so much on the line for both. Both have so much to prove right now. Pressure on both. Not saying that, national championship if he plays well or 2 wins if he doesn't, but just it feels like when we talk about individuals that just need to be good, need to be great, need to figure it out, he might be the most important player in the country.
He's as important as any player in the country. That's an absolute fact. It's a big year for Hugh Freeze. A chance to prove that he is what they thought he was when he got there on the plains. It's a golden opportunity to jumpstart a career for Jackson Arnold. And Hugh believes in him. I talked to Hugh at the SEC Media Days. He absolutely believes in him and thinks that, what his eyes tell him is that this guy can be a special player. I know he's worked hard to put together a receiving crew at Auburn that is, unlike maybe anything in the past. These guys are all, really good players, and a chance to blow the top off the defensive secondary. This all has the makings of a really, really happy ending for both Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze, and fingers crossed for those who root for the Tigers that's exactly what takes place.
The reality is, though, Coach, it's great to have all this good work.
Greg, this is what I love about you. You always come in with the dose of reality.
Well, I try not to. This time of year, it's always glass half full. But since you guys are just, having a little bit of an Auburn parade, I might as well throw a little water on the fire.
A little
here.
shade, just a little shade. Go ahead.
Subtle shade. Coach, here's my thing: is that it's all well and good we can sing Kumbaya during the during the preseason, and I'm glad to hear that Hugh Freeze has faith in him. I think there's a lot of positives surrounding the situation. I'd be surprised if Jackson Arnold doesn't have a good year. The problem that I have is he's going to be playing against Dave Aranda week 1. He's going to have some guys walking around. He's had some gray area in coverage, and he might throw 2 picks. How do you get the quarterback out of the dumpster when he's back after an offseason, 8 months of building his confidence up? First game, real live bullets, he experiences real adversity, and he reverts right back to the guy he was once before. So how do you deal with that?
That is a fantastic question. And you, having played the position, know that you have to have amnesia. You have to be able to take the lesson learned from something that confused you, that caused you to throw into coverage and have a ball picked off or something, and go to the sideline, download what happened, but go out there with the same measure of confidence on the next drive that you had when you began the game, and as if you'd just thrown a touchdown pass. And therein lies, we don't know what sort of whiplash Jackson Arnold has from last year and the disappointment of his time at Oklahoma. We can put it on, failed offensive coordinators. We can put it on a, shoddy offensive line or lack of real talent at wide receiver. And we can all believe that everything's fine. But at the end of the day, the confidence level of Jackson Arnold is exactly what Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold are working on a daily basis. And to get over the hiccups, which invariably they happen. Even Joe Burrow in that magical year had a couple of picks, right? You have to be able to come back out, understand what just took place, put that in the memory banks, and then move on. One of the coverages that always bugged me as a quarterback, and I'm sure it bugged you, was soft cover 2, right? Where there's 2 safeties, but that corner backed up. Coach, that corner backed up as if he was in a third and then sat at that 11 or 12-yard mark, right? Which is why your eyes have to be on the DB, but not the receiver. You know where the receivers go, and the DB's got, and then you've got to be able to move through a deal, which again gets back to the feet and your eyes being ahead of your feet, meaning that if once the first choice is gone, your eyes are moving to number 2 before your feet go to number 2, so that if your eyes say number 2 in your progression is the guy you need to be throwing to, now your feet correspond and the ball comes out almost as if it was the first choice, but in accordance to how the pattern's laid out. And this is where Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold have to be on the same page. But that confidence thing is something that they are working on from the moment they said hello to each other. I mean, these guys need each other like Sonny needed Cher. I guarantee it that's what's being, this relationship is the cornerstone of Auburn's fortunes this year.
Coach, I'm going to give Greg credit. He said something on this show. We asked you Freeze about it. We asked Jackson Arnold about it. Coach Freeze obviously is going to have a different answer because he's coaching the young man right now. But Greg laid out for us one day when we were discussing Jackson's issues last year, and it's in there. Go back to that bowl, the Alamo Bowl. He threw 3 picks in that game, but finished with like 380. And he just came back and kept firing.
That's
so
right.
It's in there.
That's right.
And Greg laid out, like, y'all don't know what it's like to play quarterback for a defensive-minded coach. The message constantly is don't screw it up. Don't mess this up. Don't hurt our field position. Don't give the ball back. Don't hurt the team. Don't do this.
Excellent point.
And I started thinking about guys like you and Jeff Lebby and Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian. Like, you think those guys are ever delivering any sort of message like that at all to a quarterback? The answer is obviously no. Do you, in your experience, ever have anything like that? A guy that came from somebody who was pounding in that don't, be careful, and you had to sort of you had to turn that around. You had to re-engineer that.
I didn't coach many transfer quarterbacks. That was not part of my career path. We had Troy Aikman, which was the first guy that I coached who transferred from Oklahoma after breaking his leg. He turned out okay.
Yeah,
great coach.
Okay.
Good arm.
But Troy's confidence level, at Oklahoma, they didn't teach a lot of what was happening on the other ball. Everything was a progression read, meaning you throw it to this guy. If he's not open, you throw it to this guy. And they didn't teach much what was going on the defensive side. Once you start teaching defense like it's, you're playing poker and everybody's holding a hand and you've got to figure out what's in everybody's hand. And now you know what their cards are based on the tells. Then the confidence level goes through the roof. So that when Troy started realizing what was happening on the other side and how it corresponded to the call that we had made and where the ball should go, the confidence level went through the roof. So it's really a question of what Jackson Arnold was being taught, whether it was Seth Luttrell or whomever took over when Seth got let go at Oklahoma, what they were being taught and what now Hugh is teaching about where to go with the ball from a standpoint of through the progression, or is it a read-based deal? And his confidence level will go along with that. But at the end of the day, I can understand where you feel like this is kind of like almost, going to a shelter to get an animal, right? That's been abused. And now you want to make sure that this animal feels cared for.
Rick, last one before we get you out of here, kind of looking on the other side of the coin, other side of the state. I know we've talked a lot about Auburn, but just your thoughts on Ty Simpson and the circumstances surrounding him now getting the job, second crack at the competition. This time he gets it done. What do you think is a fair expectation for what he might be capable of this year?
Well, this is another interesting question because I think there's a number of quarterback situations around the country, Greg, that they're going to coach around the quarterback a little bit early in the season until they kind of know what they have when the actual live action is happening. Listen, when you read what Kalen DeBoer said about Ty and his deserving this chance because of his loyalty to the program, that isn't him winning the job. That is him having been there long enough so he gets first chance. And to me, it's going to be Ty taking the reins and showing the coaching staff that I'm no longer just trying to do what you're coaching. I'm actually trying to win games. I remember vividly being in a quarterback competition with a guy by the name of Steve Bono, who played 15 years in the NFL, that I was just trying to do what Homer Smith was teaching and just keep doing it over and over again so that I show that I could do it better than the competition. Eventually, you get in the game and you realize I got to do what's necessary to win a football game. I got to keep from throwing interceptions. I got to take what they give me and stay ahead of the chains. And every now and then when I see an opportunity, I got to take a shot and make a play. And when you actually go out there and do what we all did in high school, trying to get to this level and become that kind of winning player, that's when you take over a team. Right now, they're just trying to do what the play calls for, be as error-free as possible. That's just playing a play rather than the game, and that will be the whole card for Ty Simpson if he's going to be a great Alabama quarterback. He's got to learn. He's got to go in there and say, "This is my job. I'm gonna go win the game."
Coach, great stuff. Thank you so much for hopping on with us this morning. That's exactly what we wanted to hear, is just how some of these situations are handled and what you think they may look like this upcoming season. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
I look forward to it, boys. You guys are on top of it, and roll Tide and War Eagle. How about that?
We'll take that, Coach.
Well
At
done,
least
Coach.
the second half of that. So, yes, Thank you very much.
See you guys.
Rick Neuheisel.
I love he knows which one to prioritize.
Well, he leaves us with the one that's most important, though. That's the one that he goes out on. And so I think that's what leaves a lasting impression there. So we know exactly what
So
that
you're
means.
suggesting first to worst, second to best.
I don't know if I've ever stated that in my life, but
Sounds
sure,
like
if
you're
that's what
trying
you
to
need,
say.
go for it.
That's what you're trying
in
to say.
alphabetical order.
I'm just trying to add
fair.
value on the
Fair.
show with what Coach told us, and I'll add a little bit more value right here on Jocks. I'll introduce you to our friend and wealth advisor, Tad Hill, your trusted retirement planning partner. He's the co-host of the Retire with Freedom radio and TV shows in Birmingham and Huntsville. Also designated by Forbes as the #1 financial securities professional in the state of Alabama, multiple years running. Tad, what do you have for us today?
Okay, today is a topic that we've discussed before, but it's a pretty constant issue, and that is market volatility. And definitely the markets have been topsy-turvy for months in a row now. And if you're already retired or you're within 5 years of it, there's a thing called sequence of returns risk. And I can't go through all the math here. I can do that in our course or in a visit. But the bottom line is, if you get poor returns early in your retirement, then you are at a much higher risk of running out of money. And our Retire with Freedom process is designed to help you build a plan to insulate you from that. We can help you. I would really encourage you to come to one of our courses or come in for a visit. And the way to do that is to text JOCKS at 205-988-0006. That's 205-988-0006. Text JOCKS, 205-988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
Go inside Jocks 94.5 on Jocks TV. Morning Jocks, Mac and Cube, three-man front video simulcasts are presented by Bill Smith Buick GMC and Game Day Men's Health. Watch on the Jocks mobile app and YouTube by searching Jocks 94.5 TV.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. 7:51, Tuesday, August 19th, right here on Jocks. Really cool conversation there with Rick Neuheisel, GMAC, on preparing your quarterback, getting your quarterback ready, quarterback coming from different circumstances, how Rick Neuheisel maybe would have handled that, managed that, and to hear him with a little bit more of the Hugh Freeze philosophy on offense, sort of how you would get that done.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the bigger things for Jackson Arnold, at least early in the season, is to maybe take a little less, maybe a little more risk averse, and then ramp things up as the season goes along. Remember last year, early in the year, the wide receivers were not super buttoned up. It led to some mistakes. The wide receivers were not great from a route running angle standpoint. Led to a couple mistakes. Like, it might be a bit of a work in progress early, and it's not going to lead to me pressing the panic button. It's just an acknowledgement of this thing is going to continue to get better as the season goes along. That's the ticket, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. I don't want him to force it early. If that leads to picks, fine, do it. But that's because I don't want to see them lose games by just gift-wrapping it and giving it away.
Okay. Well, let me know if you're concerned with these things Hugh Freeze has had to say. He was asked over the weekend about Ashton Daniels and Deuce Knight potentially getting in games this year.
Think that there's a place for both, depending on the scenario in the game. Without giving away too much, I think, there's a place for both of those guys that you could play to their strengths. And we won't be afraid to do that.
All right, so maybe utilization in different areas, how that might happen. Then last night on Tiger Talk, Greg, the potential of all three playing in a game came up.
Could we see all three quarterbacks
Yes.
Friday night in Baylor?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's strengths, and you put on Ashton's film from Stanford, and I mean, this guy ran away from
Right.
some really good teams like Clemson and Notre Dame, and I mean, some of those runs were. I mean, he's got an extra gear. And so, there's always a place for that. And then, Deuce right now, he can make any throw on the field, and he has a poise about him for a freshman that's unique. Not as far along in all the protection sets and identifying coverages and maybe getting us into the right check just yet, but getting better and better at that too.
When are conversations like that good, unique, a positive, and when do they become concerning?
I mean, I'm okay with playing guys because you've had to get Ashton to come transfer to begin with. I don't want him to play against Baylor unless we're up huge, right? That'd be my approach if I were the coach. But I'd try to fit him in there some. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Give those guys a couple reps, get them a look, especially if things are spinning a little bit for their starter. I don't think there's any
some of this
with
maybe
that.
Gamesmanship of forcing Dave Aranda to say, okay, if the freshman's in, let's look at this. If the backup's in, let's look at this.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to change because their skill set's not too dissimilar. Do you anticipate
I would ask this question to our listeners. If you're an Auburn fan, do you want to see all three quarterbacks play against Baylor? You've heard us talk about how important this game is. You've heard about how critical and how difficult this game is going to be for Auburn. Do you want to see all three? I don't think it's a positive if all three quarterbacks play, personally.
Not against Baylor, like I said. Not against Baylor.
I'm referencing specifically against Baylor.
No.
Unless you're up 3 touchdowns in the fourth, you want to get guys in, get them reps. I think Hugh has also gone out of his way to get guys involved, whether that's force them the football or get them extra playing time. I think he understands the game, so to speak. So from that perspective, I respect it and I get it. And I think it's also not bad to talk about it to where maybe it gets back to some of those players of like, oh, he's got a plan to get me in. Great. Maybe those kids kind of think that's happy, makes them happy, whatever that is. So I don't know. We'll see. Kid Bama Kid tweeting into the show. Cole, do you think Auburn will retire your number? I'm going to go no. But we appreciate the question. Also, Greg Hendricks tweeting in, what I heard from Freeze is the defense couldn't stop the offense. Did you take that from his comments?
No.
In the previous segment? I didn't take that either.
It's not what I've heard either from how scrimmage has gone.
Kid Bama Kid also tweeting in, it would be cool to have your Heisman winner jersey retired. I didn't win a Heisman. I know that's something that's commonly mistaken around Central Alabama, but that did not take place.
Well, whether you did or should have, you got to be able to kind of figure out which one there.
Now, if one of your kids goes to Auburn, wears your number, and then has it retired, does that count?
Just because you didn't doesn't mean you shouldn't have. Fair?
Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know. My children got a lot of taking out the trash and cleaning up the playroom before they get to wear my number.
They got to prove it.
Could they get a grill?
They got to earn it. Just like they got to earn them decals on the helmet.
This is McElroy and Cubelic in the morning.